July 29th, 2026, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Jarzar, a WoW esports aficionado.
What's up, guys? It's Big Moran, and I'm a one-button BM Hunter enthusiast.
Hey everyone, I'm Treesap Jake, a classic player. Wait, hold on. Not a WoW classic player. Actually, I'm a League classic player. That's right. League has copied WoW yet again.
Those bastards.
Yeah, indeed,
What?
indeed.
Is it? But doesn't WoW copy from League and from Guild Wars and from Final Fantasy and from anything else he can?
Well, actually, the MOBA, the MOBA genre came as an adaptation to Dota, and Dota itself is an adaptation to a Warcraft 3 custom map.
It was,
yeah. Indeed. So that is why everything traces back to Warcraft and WoW. So there we go. Anyway, I'm a classic player through and through.
Yeah, awesome. So you're back to classic.
No.
No? Okay.
just League classic. I digress. Anyway, let's move on from this classic point.
Okay.
Classic me. Anyway.
Classic you. All right. Big, what the heck? One button Andying and parsing well? What the heck?
Yeah, so I said this the other week on the podcast that I wanted to challenge myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided I would challenge myself with a spec that I've written off as in the past as being easy, BM Hunter. And I feel bad now because as I've learned through trials and tribulations, that it is actually easier than I thought, especially with a one-button rotation. So I am scrolling up and scrolling down to maximize efficiency with my one button, and I'm having a blast. It's really fun to play a spec that's really simple. I love it.
Oh my! But I mean, clearly you still have to like click on an enemy frame or on the nameplate, so it will like do things.
I mean, I'm still doing the PvP things. I should be clear. I'm not just doing damage with one button. I'm also, making sure I'm trapping and kicking and pressing my defensives. But what's nice is when you don't even have to think about your rotation, all those other things become way easier to do. So even though I'm relatively new on Hunter, it doesn't really matter that much because I know, from playing other classes that, okay, if I'm in trouble, I press my defensive, or okay, at this moment I need to CC the healer. I can automatically make those high-level decisions without having to worry about thinking about rotational stuff. So it's fun, and I think it one button I think works best for these specs that are simpler, which sounds ironic.
Yeah.
But if you play like BM Hunter, Fury Warrior, specs that have these very reactive and snappy rotations, it's pretty fun not to think about those things and just focus on the gameplay. So it's fun.
All right. I will say, back in the War Within, I was playing Havoc for a bit with just the one button rotation, but I still had to push like a bunch of other buttons because to Vengeful Retreat, to Glimpse, and that I still had to put, that was a different button that wasn't on the one button rotation. Obviously to meta and to blow my CDs wasn't on the one button. So are you using like the actual in-game one button, or did you like make a macro to use things? You
can macro the one button rotation into a macro. It's slash cast one button assist. So my one button has that. It has slash pet attack and something else. I don't remember what that other thing is. Okay. But the funny thing about BM is Beastal Wrath is such a short cooldown. It's 30 seconds. That it's actually in your one button rotation. So I don't even have to think about popping cooldowns. It just pops them for me. And typically that's a good thing as BM. You want to be pressing Beastal Wrath on cooldown. It's one of those specs where you don't really have to think very much. You just send damage. And then trap. I will say this. So as much as it seems like I'm making fun of Hunter, there is a learning curve in figuring out how to trap.
Yeah.
because it's easy to trap these at lower ratings because healers maybe don't play around traps as well, and DPS aren't protecting their healers as well. But once you get up there, you really need to be a bit creative because there's so many ways people can avoid your stun, can avoid your trap. So it's kind of like that's the execution test of playing hunters. Can you trap? If the answer is yes, I think you'll do well.
If not, get another class.
That's right.
Jake, did you ever do one button rotation on your shaman?
I've never done one button rotation ever. Mostly because I was like, how best to explain this? I was basically really judgmental of people that use one button rotation because I was like, you're just taking the skill out of your rotation. However, I feel like it just kind of highlights how easy certain specs are to do things. And I suppose actually in reality, it does fundamentally teach you other aspects of PvP that you might not have done.
Yeah.
But no, I've never tried it on Shaman. I've never tried it on Shaman. I've never tried it on anything. Mostly because I never thought I would ever deign to do it.
I'm going to challenge you. I want to challenge you.
I definitely wouldn't recommend it for casters. I could see it working well for enhancement though. I think it's just much better for melee.
Fair.
Yeah, I would never use it on a shadow priest because it would start mind flaying and stuff, and then I'd get kicked, or I'd move and cancel the casts. Like it's way better for instant cast damage.
Fair.
That makes sense.
Do it. Put it on my warrior next. Do that. Well, that was an interesting thought. That's something I hadn't really expected to actually be as a conversation in this with you guys. Like I thought I was the only one that would do the one button, but all right. I wonder, I feel like with the ability pruning that they did for the current expansion, if that just made one button better and more viable.
Honestly, yes. I think it did. And I was thinking about that pruning today. It's like, I really like the state of rotations. Like it's not super overwhelming, and especially for learning an alt, it's very nice because there's not these clunky modifiers you have to deal with and these crazy precise sequences. It's again, you can think more about the actual PvP part of the game, which is nice.
100%. Yeah, I don't disagree. All right, so I kind of normally we just kind of chit chat about things and not whatever's come to mind, but I have to ask, did you guys watch the Q&A and also read the interview that Ian recently did?
Oof. I actually didn't, but I saw a lot of the buzz on the old X.
Yeah.
And that it was a bit, is ironic quite the word for it? But just a bit sort of like, we think PvP is doing great. Actually, majority of the community are kind of like, well, actually, no, it's not that great. And I think maybe they're looking at the amount of people that maybe getting gladiator, maybe able to queue. It's like, well, what specs are they playing? What kind of comps are they playing? Why is it miserable for other people that are just playing their regular classes and whatnot and not having fun? I think that's the thing they've got to look at. And I know that the problem is that we still continue to play, so they're like, everything's fine, but it's not. Like no one's looking at the complaints or the amount of times I've had to tweet.
So
what are we at now? 1100 and what?
1111.
Oh, 1111. There you go. 1100 and 1111. Wow.
Yeah, quadruple ones.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, Big, you were gonna say something. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read that interview he did with whatever that journal is or publication, but I watched the interview, and I had a little. I mean, I understand why people might have been frustrated, but I wasn't super offended by what Ian was saying. I think he said a lot of good things. I mean, it's going to sound like the most basic answer. I think he said a balance of, agreeable things and disagreeable things. And like some of the takes I was seeing on Twitter, I think were being a little bit too dramatic. Like obviously the PvP is great. That's a really tough sell to the community, and I think it would be a tough sell for any community in WoW. I think that'd be a tough thing for a developer to say about Mythic Plus. I think that'd be a tough thing for a developer to say about housing. So I don't think like there's any way he could have worded that particular thing without offending a bunch of people. I was optimistic about some of the things he did say, though, which I guess we can get into later. But my read on the situation is that the interview was okay. It wasn't bad. I don't think it's as bad as people made it out to be. And I actually agreed with a lot of what Ian was saying and look forward to the future of WoW. That's my take.
Yeah. So I'm struggling right now because I realized I didn't put the link for the magazine interview he did, the e-mag, but I yeah. Oh, and of course now Game Informer. That's what it was. All right. So anyways, I think if I may, I kind of, so maybe we should do this. Maybe we should, I have the quote of what Ian said on the WoW Portal Q&A. I think read it out loud, and then that way for people who haven't seen or are just hearing reactions, then maybe they can make their own idea before we get into it too far.
Maybe you can just play the raw audio on stream. Maybe
I don't have it. I don't want to go looking for it right now.
Just play the raw audio, dude.
I don't have it.
I'm checking.
Stop putting me on the spot. All right. So just so everybody knows, this was from the World of Warcraft Portal Discord server. This is the Discord server they stood up to help people find their communities. And this is twice that they've done a Q&A. The first one was with Holly Longsdale, and now this one was with Ian. And I don't know why they keep doing it on the Discord. Well, I know why they're doing it on the Discord. They're trying to drive people to the Discord server. But at the same time, using a venue like a Discord, which has limits on this room size, he was actually late getting to his own interview because there's so many people sitting in the room that he had to boost the server to increase the size of it. So anyways, they've taken a bunch of questions that the ambassador Discords had gathered and put them into fairly large, clunky questions. And I think it was the fourth question in was the PvP one. They asked 2 PvP, and then they moved on to other things. So in this one, in a section of it, Ian goes to say, and I quote, "At a high level, we want to serve our PvP community better, but we also need to grow the PvP community in order to justify that, frankly. I think the story of PvP in WoW has been a very passionate core of players that, 20 years ago was larger. The number of people who jumped into battlegrounds, into more casual modes of PvP as a percentage of the overall player base was much larger back then than it is today. Today, PvP in, particularly in rated forms, can feel very intimidating and can feel hard to get into in terms of the knowledge gap, the gear gap. There's a lot of barriers of entry, and so our focus with things like training grounds has been to trying to get new people into PvP, trying to build that foundation, like the bottom of a pyramid, so that we can make the whole thing higher and stronger. That's not going to be a process that happens overnight, and I recognize that for players that are focused on primarily on that high end of the creative ecosystem, or the competitive ecosystem, my apologies, it can sometimes feel like we're not doing enough. But in the long run, I think for PvP to get the support that we want to give it, we all need to work together to grow that community. And so I think as we discuss this further, as we get feedback from the community, I'd love to hear ideas and to think together about not just what we can do today to make PvP better for the gladiator level player, but what we can do to make it easier for people who haven't PvP'd seriously in WoW, but love PvP in other games to get into WoW's PvP. All right. I stumbled there. Apologies. So thinking about that, I noticed a couple of things is that, and yes, we can talk about the backlash from the community, but a lot of people heard, we need you to grow the community. And he's saying we, like, as a, like, everybody together, both the devs and the community need to try to do it, I think, is how I heard it. But a lot of that's corporate speak, right? Because if you're looking at how much money they're putting into development, they're only going to use where they think that people are playing. Because right now, unlike before when World of Warcraft was first being built, they were building something to bring people. Now they have people. They're just trying to maintain. And really, they've been doing that for years. And I guess they've been building in certain areas, but they haven't really built much into PvP. And so a lot of people are arguing that if they had put more attention and built more into PvP, then probably would have kept the player base more. I want to throw this one out to you guys, and you tell me if I'm crazy. But I think 20 years ago, we had what? We had dungeons, we had raids, and we had BGs, right? That's classic.
Vanilla.
Yeah,
classic.
vanilla, right? And then we had dungeons, heroic dungeons, normal raids, heroic raids, and we had arena, and we had dailies for Burning Crusade, right? And then in Wrath of the Lich King, we had BGs, arenas, again, dungeons, heroic dungeons, normal raids, heroic raids, and again, a bunch of dailies. So I don't know about you guys, but I can do dungeons regularly. You just spam those if you wanted, but soon you geared those out. You can only do your heroics like once a day. You got locked out of your raid once a week. And so the only thing left to do was either do dailies for your rep grinds or get into BGs and PvP.
Or make an alt. Sure. Roll that to today. We have how many systems to keep people busy? Like tons.
Yeah. So we have delves, we have prey, we have dungeons, heroic dungeons, mythic plus dungeons, 3 types of raids, 4, LFR, LFR, normal, heroic, and mythic. And we have arenas and BGs. That hasn't changed. There's so much more for people to do. And not to mention, you have classic, hardcore, classic anniversary, and retail.
Yeah. And solo shuffle and BG blitz and RPGs.
Yes. Sorry, I missed. Yes. So is it fair to say that the PvP, the amount of people playing PvP has gone down, not because people are struggling with PvP, but it's because they have other things to do, and maybe PvP ain't that great nowadays, and that maybe they should look at that?
I think my honest opinion is that if you look at the amount of people playing WoW and the way it peaked in Wrath and tapered off in Kata, etc., that the community in general was dwindling before we had all these options, before Mythic Plus was even the thing. It was dwindling before Challenge Mode existed. It dwindled even harder in WoD, and then M Plus finally, I think, was a thing in Legion, when it first started as a concept.
Yeah.
So I think the truth is that the game back in the day was the best across the board, so many people played it. But PvPers have always played because Arena is so unique, and probably a majority of people would just play Arena. But then they stopped really catering to Arena. They stopped, like TBC, Wrath, you can tell Arena's really good, like well balanced across the board and fun in general. And maybe not TBC, but Wrath in general is a fairly balanced, as it were, expansion. the PvP was great. Then Kata came. People stopped wanting to play Kata arenas, so they started switching off. They started going to private servers. People started moving away. And I think that's the thing, is that realistically, it has always been a balancing gameplay creation, because Blizzard have not realized the gem that was sitting in their pocket. They never realized how incredible, how unique Arena is, how fast the games can be, and how enjoyable it can be to watch. They poured all their energy into their raids, all into the classic EverQuest stuff, that they didn't realize what a gem they'd found, and how they could have had essentially the same level of dedication that League of Legends currently has with the people that queue up and play it. They literally play all day. They literally play all night. They will play it anytime they can, because it is a dedicated PvP system that has, you know, people looking after how the balancing is and how the gameplay works. And although, you know, I don't think League of Legends is in the best place, even at its worst, it's far better maintained and managed than WoW is, because WoW has many other facets to it, many other facets that Blizzard have focused on. So realistically, yes, nowadays we have lots of stuff to do, and that is because they need a dopamine bin on which people must be able to kind of roll things through. And M Plus is very, very successful. But that they created M Plus to keep the PvEers locked in during those raid lockouts. But for PvPers, they've just towed the line. They've just held it vaguely together, and they've not given it the same quality and the same attention. So when they're saying we need to grow the community together, they could start by doing that, by creating a dedicated place for us to go to air our grievances, to let them know, to be like, okay, you know what? WoW PvP devs might not respond to me, but at least I've aired it. And then if you say rude shit, you get blocked. You know, if you're rude, just get blocked. You know, like it's that simple. That's how they should treat it. If you abuse your ability, you just get blocked. And I think majority of people nowadays are respectful of that, or at least would be respectful, because they realize it's a finite resource. And that's how they could start doing that. So I my kind of TLDR is, I think Blizzard have grossly misunderstood how great Arena could have been. And now they're at this point going, well, we are absolving all responsibility by saying you guys need to grow the PvP community, when realistically they could do it so easily. They just refuse to.
Well, I think from Ian's point of view, he's doing his part in trying to grow the PvP community by creating these training grounds to be this like baby step to dip people's toes into the kiddie pool end of PvP.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to work. I think training grounds at the launch of Midnight were really popular, but that's because of a few carrots that they put in. But then they nerfed the honor gains in it, and I'm pretty sure queuing on it is dead right now. It might go up again. Well, they just announced 12.1, right? So I can see people are gonna start farming honor to cap out on that, so they're ready for the next season. So over the next 3 weeks, we might see training grounds and BGs increase, but probably not. But Big, I want to throw to you for a second, because I see you just colorized that whole paragraph.
Well, I was color coding it to break it down into parts.
Yeah.
I will say that I think what you said is exactly on the money. Like, there's just way more things you can do in WoW these days. WoW is just a game of infinite complexity now, like no matter what. And there's a million different ways to play WoW. It's like, I think, the ultimate sandbox game right now. And so, yeah, it was true that 20 years ago, because there was less to do, people just played PvP, like had a guild, and we would just do BGs together, you know, and on Tuesday nights we would do Karazhan. And when that was over, you know, we would go into BGs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there was sort of this different culture to the game too, where people were really eager about the end game, and they kind of wanted to experience every part of the end game. Yeah. Which there's still players that do that. You know, they do want to experience, you know, a bunch of parts of the end game, but I think these days people are a bit more specialized in what they, you know, how they approach the game. Maybe they are a PvPer who does arenas. Maybe they're a PvPer who only does battlegrounds. Maybe they don't do PvP at all. You know, they're not even max level, and they do player housing. I think there's a few things throughout the game's history where Blizzard did kind of fumble some opportunities, as Jake mentioned. I know, like, infamously, it was kind of difficult to run tournaments for WoW back in the day, because if the prize pool was above a certain number, it had to be a Blizzard sanctioned tournament, which, required coordination with Blizzard, getting, licensing agreements and setting up tournament realms and stuff like that. It was kind of, pain in the butt, I guess, for Blizzard. And so they said, okay, we don't want, we don't want to focus on these things. So I think there's that. Also, I think what has been troubling me a bit recently, and again, I don't mean to dog on the way that people enjoy WoW, but it is kind of frustrating to see Blizzard on the official Warcraft channel host a certain type of content only.
Yep.
And I know they did have a one-button Ret Paladin playing Arena a few weeks ago. That was the thing they had on the channel. Mm-hmm. But they haven't really done much to showcase PvP to a wider audience outside of the AWC. Like, the AWC is all that they do. Mm-hmm. And they could have Peekaboo on that stream or something, or Venruki on the Warcraft channel. Like, why don't they have him? Totally. I know, maybe they're trying to support the smaller creators or whatever they say. But my gosh, like, I guarantee you Venruki would love to stream on the Warcraft channel, Like, he would be down to do that.
Sure.
So I think it's just a lot of small mistakes that throughout the game's history have kind of made PvP into this thing that exists in the background for many players, and is this thing a lot of players don't want to touch. So, is training grounds the right solution? Definitely not. But I mean, it is a solution. It feels to me like an incomplete one. Just to pivot slightly, I believe in the next question Ian was asked, he did talk a little bit about rewards. Mm-hmm. And one thing he mentioned is that he wishes PvP rewards were a bit more obvious to players. Mm-hmm. And I think that got me thinking. Like, okay, so say you're interested in getting a transmog or something, or you're doing a dungeon and you want to see what gear drops from that dungeon. Well, you have the dungeon journal to figure that out. And there's a class filter. There's all these sort of things. Why isn't there like a PvP journal? I realize Absolutely. that would be such an easy solution. And this PvP journal could not only have the rewards you could earn, mm-hmm. you could also maybe see key spells from other specs. Kind of like you can see boss mechanics in the dungeon journal. Yep. You can see PvP mechanics, and then also it would be the UI element where you could also queue for arena or queue for BGs. I think there's just a lot of they've made a lot of small mistakes, but there's a lot of small fixes they could do. And we don't need these, of course, these massive overhauls to PvP would be nice, but I think we should start with the smaller things.
I agree. And just on that, so for those who haven't heard or seen, Ian was suggesting that what they're going to do is create like a renown track, but for PvP. So we'll show you what you will reward, what rewards you'll get as you hit the different, Challenger 1, Challenger 2, Challenger 1, Rival, and all that stuff, and what you'll get, so that it's very clear and obvious. So if you want to see what the tabard is, you'll actually see the tabard and see what CR you have to get the tabard, or things like that. And I think you're not wrong. I think if let's play the game with Blizzard, if we want to work with them, then yes, we can suggest a number of small changes that they can make that would probably be fairly inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. But at the same time, so it'd be that bite-sized stuff that they can probably do and budget in without asking for like the grandiose scale of doing a massive like MMR overhaul. and their elo scheme in the background. One other thing we should probably point out is Ian did talk that they're doing an update on PvP talents, but that's going to be, I think he indicated it's not going to be 12.1, but it is going to happen probably before 12.2. So it's probably going to be a .5 or a .7. So we'll see that. Just for numbers. So for those who are listening on the podcast, I'm sorry. This is a graphic. You're not going to be able to see it unless you go to the video, either on YouTube or on Twitch. But I'm just going to put this up here. So this is a graphic that I was able to get using AI, but it just shows what the end game participation over time was from Mist of Pandaria all the way out to midnight, using some estimations and using some different data points from different sites. And the estimation is that you had about for raids from, let's say, Mist of Pandaria, you had about 4 million unique participants, and now you have about 6.5 to 7.5 million. For Mythic Plus, like I said, Legion, about 2.7, now you're about 5.2 to 5.6 million unique players. For PvP, it was 1.7 million in Mists. It peaked to 2.1 in Warlords and has gone down steadily since down to 1.1 million in the middle of Battle for Azeroth. Then it climbed back up for Shadowlands and then tapered back off down to 0.6 million in Dragonflight. And the War Within climbed slightly, and we're back up to estimation of just below 1 million in Midnight. So I think understanding that Ian's excited that the number has gone up, and again, this is just AI assumptions and doing a bunch of math in the background. They can have completely different data points because obviously they don't share all the data with us. But I mean, if you want to talk about percentages, less than 1 million compared to 5 and 7 million. That's a stark difference. Like, I can't imagine how a director would be able to convince an executive to give him millions of dollars to do development for a literal fraction of the player base. What can we do to make that better? Jake?
It's a really tough question because it is, in truth, circular.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we need more players to want to invest, but in order to get more players, you need to invest more. It is a constant cycle of just not well thought out business design, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I think in my head, if I was a designer or if I was a head of marketing or anything that was related to how we put the game together, I'd be sitting there going, what makes the other games in this bracket have an unlimited amount of people playing it? And I think the truth is that if you want to play a game mode that people will constantly play, there is no reset that can be just done all the time. PvP is the best thing. You can always play against other people all the time. Doesn't matter whether it's queuing at 2 a.m. or whether you're queuing at 12 o'clock. There is queues of some kind in some bracket. If you invest into that and make that bracket good with great rewards, with great, getting rid of the barrier to entry, facilitating the way that people can find each other, you will have a game that will feed itself. When people have bored of pushing 23 keys, when people are bored of raids, when they're bored of doing delves, when they've collected everything possible, they will log off. PvPers will keep grinding. If there are rewards to grind, they will do alts, they will help their friends, they will do anything. They will just all keep playing over and over and over again, constantly, for as much as possible.
Absolutely.
So in my mind, yes, investors want to do that, but that is an investment. Look at other models. Look at League. Look at Valorant. Look at all these other PvP based games. Yes, they're not based in an MMO. yes, it is hard to balance, but we already see that they can balance both for PvE and PvP by adding modifiers that only affect PvP. They can almost kind of adjust a whole separate game if they wanted to. So that's in my opinion the big thing. Is sort of like, it's up to us to create a good community, but at the same time we've got all the upper ranks having a rough time with the win traders, like people who are high up in shuffles and everything, having a tough time with win traders. Everyone who's in like 2.5 and below thinking they've got win traders in their lobby if someone is just bad in general. It's a bit diabolical, and I just think, there's nothing that kind of draws people in. So although I will say this, I have a friend, I have friends that I used to raid with back in BFA, and I also used to teach them how to do RPGs, and we would kind of go in and do like guild RPGs on a Saturday night, and it was loads of fun, especially in Shadowlands. And he now does BG Blitz, and it was like, I'm playing a Warlock. I literally don't have any PvP gear, but I load into PvP, go into BG Blitz, have fun, and I've got an 1800, and I've got my elite gear, and I'm pretty happy with that. So, these are people that just raid, but there are other ways to get them into PvP in which they're enjoying themselves and enjoying that content. Yeah, they're just getting 1800, they're just getting the elite gear, but there are good ways into that community. It's just how you kind of cultivate it there going forwards. So there is already some good rewards. I just think, it requires a little bit more love for something that I feel like is very unloved from its creator. I know that's not really what you wanted to hear, but I think in reality, the truth of it all is that there is no, as much as we can do something, if you make a bit of content which will just drive even the most dedicated person into insanity, then you're just going to lose everyone. If no matter how much, we all have Stockholm syndrome to a degree. We all kind of love the game that abuses us in a way, but at some point you're going to see through the gaslighting. You're going to see through everything and kind of go, actually, I've kind of had enough. Which is sort of what happens with me when I go to League and play League Classic as opposed to WoW Classic, because I'm sort of had enough of the game mode that kind of punishes me massively, versus something where I can express skill.
Yeah, I think so. I've been having some thoughts as I was thinking about today's episode, and there's two things that became clear to me. Is one, there is a bias. The devs, the community managers, the designers, the game itself is designed with a bias against PvP. As much as PvP is a core thing, and you look at earlier I went over to the forums and I completely forgot about in the recruitment section. I don't even pay attention. I just go to PvP, right? But I went there and I was like, oh yeah, recruitment. All these beta channels, they were built back in 2023, and every single one of them is PvE, from basic grouping for dungeons all the way up to mythic raiding or close to it. But there's not a single channel for PvP. Why would you build a whole section about looking for other people in your official forums and not include a core pillar of your game mode?
And speaking of that bias, I mean, there's all these little jabs that we see every now and then from people within Blizzard about PvP, right? In some of those recent, I don't know what you call those videos they publish on the Warcraft channel where it's they're interviewing.
Paul? You're talking about PvP Paul?
I'm not talking about PvP Paul. I'm talking about PvP Paul as well. Yeah. But they'll have, for instance, someone at Blizzard interviewing two other developers at Blizzard, and it goes on the Warcraft channel. And sometimes you get these offhanded comments, whenever PvP is brought up, some of these people seem disgusted, the mention of PvP, and it's come on, you don't have to play it. You can just admire the fact that other people like it. It doesn't mean you have to like it too. And so again, my take for this whole episode is it's just a bunch of small things, like a bunch of tiny things that all collectively add up to a problem.
Do you know what I would like them to do?
What?
I would like them to add into the game something that actually pushes people to do at least queue for PvP. Like for part of your faction war or whatever, like go run in a Arathi Basin. You don't have to win it, just like as part of the quest, right? You know, we need more fighters down in the Arathi Basin. Queue up, or any of the battlegrounds, right? Queue up into the battleground and you know, try help out at the war front, right? Like throughout the whole game, as you're leveling, fresh tune or like brand new expansion, whatever, like amongst all the questing, there's always a push to, you know, you have to go and do a dungeon. It's part of this. It's part of the core story, right? You have to, you know, right now they have quests that send you into the delves. They have for the last 2 expansions. There's a quest to send you off onto a prey. Understanding there's a breadcrumb and kind of teaching you how to do it, but it's still sending you away on that. But there's absolutely nothing in the game that I am aware of right now that sends you to queue up for PvP. There's not even a breadcrumb.
That's a good point. Like, we as the PvPers have to do the content we necessarily don't want to do, but it's like the PvEers don't have to do the content they don't want to do sometimes.
Well, they did. They did at one point, and then they whined and complained so much they never ever did it again. Do you remember in Shadowlands when you had to get PvP upgraded gear in order to be competitive in Race to World First or other things
that was season 1. Yeah, it was
season 1.
Yeah,
never again.
Yeah, and they've actually done that a couple times before, but that was only end game rating, Race to World First. You know, players. There's was it BFA or was it before that where players had to get their weapons, the PvP weapons, because the item level and the statting for it by far outgeared anything they could get from dungeons, and they all complained about doing it while they did it because they didn't want to do it.
It was Shadowlands. It was Shadowlands for that.
It was? Okay.
The elite item level for weapons, and it's the reason why they're no longer this way, was slightly higher than everything else, and therefore PvEers had to try and get elite in RBGs. It's the reason why I ended up fighting Nagura multiple times in RBGs. Because you're basically getting boosts in RBGs to get the elite weapon from big time RBGs, and that was kind of the situation. And they would whine and complain about it so much.
Well, yeah.
And whereas, like, you know, we had to do the whole of BFA doing PvE. I had to run so many Mythic Plus dungeons at level 10 just to try and get the right item level, the right stat, the right everything. It was horrid. It's horrible.
I know. And we complain, but, you know, we're only 1% of the player base, so, oh well.
Yeah.
I guess 5%
at least they
of the player
changed
base.
it. I will say at least they changed it. At least PvP gearing now is perfect. It is exactly the way that it needs to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't disagree. I do like the way gearing is. I like all the options it has between the crafted gear, the lacquers of being able to take a PvE item and giving it a PvP level and do all that. Like, there's so many things you can do. Like, it is amazing. But I kind of roll back to exactly what Big said, is that they've done a bunch of great stuff. Obviously, if they're not going to be able to do big things because they can't get the funding to get the big things, then these little things, like, maybe we just need to all go to the forums, like, because apparently I know they read Reddit and they do other places, but maybe that's what we have to do, is go to the official forums and give them our ideas, right? How we and they can interact and provide ideas to get us all to grow the community. And I think the other part is really, as PvPers, I mean, we're a bunch of us are in guilds. I know a lot of people have stepped away from guilds because PvP guilds kind of went to the wayside and nobody wants to join. Everybody's just like soloing it now through LFG, or now just through their BNet list. But I think that's one thing we can do, is like get into the PvE guilds and talk to, make friends there and pull them into a BG. It doesn't have to be rated, like just into a BG. Or oh, you're a healer. Hey, I'm a DPS. Let's dual queue into BG Blitz. What? I can do that, right? You know, maybe that'll be the thing, and then we can grow the community that way. Because I don't think Training Grounds is going to do it. Okay, I'm going to get off the soapbox. One thing about training Grounds. So again, 12.1 dropping on the 11th. Season 2 is going to start on the 18th. What do you think the chances are that they're going to give some sort of breadcrumb to make people sign up and queue for the Arena Training Grounds? And how much difficulty do you think people are going to have to make a threes group in order to queue that properly? I'm going to go to Big. I want to hear Big's comment.
I think there's close to 0% chance on both of those things, honestly. But I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
I mean, the bare minimum would just be like play one training ground. Like that's if they do that, I'll be shocked. But you know, hopefully they do that.
I'm sure they'll probably do something, but yikes.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely. It's sadly that is the situation. It's like it's all talk. That's why they get Ian to do it, because Ian is well practiced with all these kind of things, and he just goes, "Oh well, you know, we would try, but you know, the community doesn't do enough. God, they're just, you know, like if it was bigger, you know, and everything." And sat there going like, "You've just got such an infinite resource in your mind. They just don't want to do it." I think at the end of the day, it is far easier to kind of play the cozy game that they've got with raids and everything than to competitively, you know, to hire someone to competitively balance PvP. You know, the thing, if you look at League, and I keep going back to League because I think it's so poignant, is that a lot of their balancing team are people that played the game for years.
Yeah.
Like they've got a guy called Riot Freak on there. These are people that played the game. They know the game. They know it very well, and they're experimenting with stuff, and they listen to feedback, and you know, they actively go out and do stuff. Get a lot of updates very recently. A lot of them are very humorous. A lot of them are very much on the nose. Sometimes the balancing changes are bad, but it's such a plethora of champions now that it really doesn't matter too much if things are over the top, and they'll quickly like hotfix them. But that's something that we don't have. We have, you know, hunters, I think, are one of the most glazed specs in the game, in which you've got 3 DPS specs, and one of them is always unreal, and 2 of them at least.
Wait a second, Jake. What are you trying to say about hunters?
Oh, okay, Mr. One-button rotation, man.
I'll have you know that I'm one of the most successful one-button BM hunters of all time, okay?
You may be the most successful one-button BM hunters of all time, unless there are others out there to claim the crown.
I'll take your crown.
I'm betting there's others out there that just won't express that they actually are one buttoning, but are gladly winning.
But what happens if you get 2 one-button BM hunters in a duel together, and they just stand there and they just press their one button? Is it whoever has the fastest, like...
Yeah, latency wins.
Latency, yeah? That's an experiment for you, Big. Get that needs to be the next skill cap video of one-button rotation. Just 2 BM hunters at each other in a duel. With they just say 1, 2, 3, and then you just kind of press the up and down key on your mouse and hope for the best.
Yes. Peak PvP.
Indeed.
Peak PvP. That's exactly it. Anyway,
so
I digress.
So just talking about community, I want to throw this one here. So we, as a Technically PvP podcast, we have a Discord server for people to join, and there's LFG channels in there amongst the, you know, to help find people. We have an in-game BNet community, so NA side, because I'm unfortunately NA, so sorry EU folks, but there's that. And yet, like, people don't join these things, so I'm not sure, like, if we want to try to be that beacon of trying to build community and get more PvPers and help people, you know, and maybe stomp out some of that toxicity, but, you know, let people find people and help people help themselves. Like, if we have that and we don't have that, like what else can we do? What can we do as a podcast, maybe? Oh, and apparently
tell
chat just told me that EU can join the BNet community. So okay, there you go, EU. But go ahead, Big.
I'll tell you my grand plan, okay?
Okay.
As you know, I am in the process of making episode 2 of my Rogue documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that you can grow communities with culture. And I think videos and documentaries and montages, whatever, that's all part of the culture. And I think for people to get excited about WoW Arena and to be interested in trying PvP, it would be nice if they had some sort of lore that they could follow, so to speak. And I think my vision with the Rogue series would be I'm just going to skip ahead. The one thing I would change is if I were Blizzard and I really wanted to grow PvP in a cool and interesting way, I think some sort of documentary type series about WoW PvP, or maybe just WoW in general, would be really cool. So I think there's a lot of cultural things that the game could, in a lot of ways, the game could evolve culturally. That we've seen none of, like, for Jake is going to mention League of Legends probably, and like they had Arcane, right? They had an entire TV series. And I'm sure that got some people to play League of Legends.
Absolutely.
Fortnite's always doing collaborations with God knows who. Like every single week, there's some new Kim Kardashian skin or like Spider-Man or something. So there's like a lot of ways that these other games sort of dip their fingers into the culture, and I think WoW could do a lot more of that.
Yeah, that would be nice. Then that would definitely, because they would go. Then they'd be mainstream, right? So then that would bring people in. Oh yeah, World of Warcraft. My dad used to play that. My mom used to play that. Yeah. Oh, and thank you, chat. Yep, all the old celebs, the commercials they had with like Mr. T and Ozzy and all that stuff. That was, and yeah, I'd love to see that. I'm going to just throw this out to the listeners, all of y'all. I want to hear back from you. Like, do we as the podcast do more to build the community ourselves, or do we just like let it go to the other people? The Skill Captain, the World of PvP, Reddit, Discord servers. They're good communities as well. They're really great. Or do we try to build it ourselves? And what does that look like? So I actually want to hear from people on this one. I think that'd be really cool. But I think actually, I guess Big, you threw out your thing to change. My thing to change would be build a proper community, and honestly have an actual PvP structured community be part of, be an ambassador at that Portal Discord, because that's not happened yet. Jake, what's something you would change?
God, everything. No, I think remove hunters. No, seriously. I think. Oh, one thing I changed. I think I would change the way that they communicate. I think the MO should be that actually PvPers are valued and that we have a valuable community and that we should be looking to repair things. That's what I'd like. A more positive outlook, I think, to our community. Because for morale reasons more than anything, it's exhausting.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm kind of spent now. I feel like I'm emotionally just drained from this. It's hard. Jake, shout outs.
Shout out my friend Scott. He's going through some stuff.
Aw.
No, not good.
I'm sorry, Scott.
Big shout out to him.
Yeah. Thoughts with you, man. Big, any shout outs for you?
Shout out to Mathene for being my 2v2 partner and doing it honorably, playing Oracle Disc Priest instead of Voidweaver Disc Priest. Shout out to Mathene.
Oh, she was? That's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't know. Okay. Shout out to Mathene, indeed. Being the beacon of the light in the twos and in RP.
Yes.
I'm going to shout out a quick shout out to the Valor Guild that I'm in. They're doing another twos tournament on the 1st. Go to the Technically PvP Twitter if you want to see the sign up log. It's over on Challenge. But August 1st, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2v2 tournament. Anybody can sign up, and they're doing gold for prizes. So go do that. And if you want to watch it, it's Jekyll Mr. Hyde on Twitch. That's where he streams it. All right, Big. You want to do the where people can find us?
Yes, I can tell you exactly where you can find us. You can contact us directly on X at technically_PvP or on Blue Sky at technicallypvp.bluesky.social or even by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on our Discord.
Yep, and we are now hosted on Libsyn. A link to the website will be in the show notes. Don't forget that the Bonus Roll website has a podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. Or if you want, you can give a comment over on TikTok or on Spotify or on YouTube or pretty much anywhere else you can find us or where you listen to us. We do read those. Sometimes we comment back too, but we do read them all. But in the meantime, links for finding us and all those spots is going to be in our show notes. I want to thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.